Canadian show, North American radio show, and now worldwide show, the LizyT Blog Talk Radio Show. She wants to know who you are, what you do, your contact info, anything new. And now welcome the amazing LizyT.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. Hello, and welcome, everyone. I am your host and one of the producers of the LizyT Show. How are you doing this afternoon, evening, morning, wherever it is that you are listening or even watching here on our YouTube channel? This incredible show with an incredible author. And I know I start this every single time, but I have to. I mean, you know how excited I get when I meet a new author, when I talk to somebody who is so passionate about writing what they love to write. Um, Different genres, obviously, but they're all exciting and they're all incredible. Their stories, their backgrounds are always very interesting. And I wouldn't be able to miss it and share it with you, share it with the world how incredible people are. And we have somebody from the States again, and I am so excited to share him with you. Hopefully, that you're able to. Not only listen to us, but follow throughout our social media. Remember, we are not only on Facebook, obviously my YouTube channel, my website, and many other platforms. There's so many of them. There used to be 10, now there are about 20, and I'm not going to be naming all of them. Just to a quick reminder also that we are looking for sponsors. So if you're interested in sponsoring the show, please do not hesitate. We send you an incredible package, and we will be mentioning your business every time we do another podcast. Also, I would like to say thank you to all of you that have supported us throughout this. It's going to be half the year already. We've been participating on many events, and we're continue to do. Summer is coming, and so we will be probably be visiting and hosting and interviewing incredible people in the summer, songers, musicians, and obviously authors. So I'm looking forward to this summer, and I'm looking forward to meeting with you in places like the weekend. There's another event coming up. So hopefully you enjoy and go out because it is hot out there today. So, without further ado, everyone, I would like to give you a little bit of background, and I would like to share with you an incredible author, as I mentioned earlier. His name is David Kempf. He has written over 50 short stories, many of with the theme of horror fiction. He has won several writing awards, including first place in Milledgeville University of Lemuria magazine short stories competition, and two of his short stories were selected for the 2007 publication of Chestnut Hill College magazine. Also, he is a frequent contributor of the British website Master of Horrors in UK, and he has written two children's books, Tell Me More About the Earth and The Wisdom Tree. The Wisdom Tree he wrote with his son, Andrew, who helped families understand the issues associated with addiction. That's powerful. In 2014, he wrote The Horror of All, featuring an interview with a prominent figure in the horror community. All proceeds from that book went to help those suffering from ALS, another incredible supporter of mine. He's currently is the author of six novel dark fiction, the pet sourced damned fiction, and so many. David was contributing author for uh, two more modern myth maker from Crystal Lake Publishing, where he interviews some of the top names in horror. And he's also had several of his short story feature on Dead Airwaves, a horror story podcast featuring original stories from such writers as William F. Nolan, Elizabeth Manthe, and many others. Davey also contributed to the portrait book of Venom Words, which made preliminary ballot nomination from the Bram Stoker Awards. David is a return guest of NBC Radio. Congratulations, David. Radio's House of Mystery, a popular talk show that interviews authors. The show has featured such authors as Patricia Cornwell, James Patterson, and Dean Koontz. In 2022, David wrote four murder mystery plays, which are four murder mystery act and one act plays that revolves around problems of addiction. My goodness, this is an incredible repertoire, incredible resume, and I'm so excited and not only very intimidating to have a fellow writer with me, but this is a lot, and congratulations to you, David. So, without further ado, let's welcome him to the stage with a wonderful round of applause. Hello, David.
Hi, how are you today?
I am fantastic. And my goodness, reading your background and reading your repertoire and your resume is just like, wow, overwhelming. Writing, was it always part of your life since childhood, or is this something that you picked up later on in life due to, I don't know, dreams, nightmares, going to, like we were talking behind the scene, going to a haunted house for Halloween. How did writing become part of such a big part of your life?
Well, I always like the horror stuff. There was when I even though I live in Bucks County now, I have had a lot of relatives in the South, and there was a horror host named Dr. Shock in Georgia who had like a little TV show, Dr. Shock's Theater, and he had a puppet, a comic relief puppet named Dingbat. It was a silly show, but like when I was little, I thought it was really neat, and you got to watch some of the classic Universal monster movies. And then also when I was little, I stole my aunt's copy of Peter Benchley's Jaws and read it, and I was really scared, and I like, wow, I'd like to write scary stories about giant monsters like killer sharks or whatever. When I read that, and also when I was little, I watched the 1979 version of Salem's Lot with my grandparents, and it scared me to death, and then it kind of just spawned in me like a love of dark fiction and scary stories. And some of my older relatives used to tell like local legend stories and things like that that used to frighten me when I was little. So I was just always like captivated by stuff like that. I mean, I also like science fiction and comedy, but I, for the most part, I seem to be drawn to writing horror stories.
So you were saying when you were little. So how little would you were? Because I, being a mother and having two incredible ladies of my own, I know they like a little bit of the horror side and the mysteries and things, but it's really scary movies or any novels like that. That was a no for them, and it still is. So how little were you?
Oh, let me see. I guess I must have been 8 when I was reading Jaws.
Wow.
Um, and it's also like a matter of taste. Like there's movies that I like that are too much for me, and books that are too much for me. I mean, uh, in Allentown, Pennsylvania, there used to be this midnight movie theater at the Lehigh Valley Mall Cinemas, and the Lehigh Valley Mall is still there, but the Lehigh Valley Mall Cinemas are gone. And a lot of the movies were just silly stuff like Slumber Party Massacre and things like that. But they showed an old Wes Craven movie called The Last House on the Left, not the remake, the original, and that was like that went beyond my line of what good taste was. I did not enjoy watching that movie. It was unenjoyable. And then I've had friends tell me things like, "Well, what about the disgusting things in The Exorcist? The little boy being eaten on the raft in Jaws? The thing coming out of the guy's stomach in Alien." And I guess my defense of those movies is that the overall experience of those movies is enjoyable, even though there's disturbing parts of them. The Last House on the Left was just I don't want to watch two teenage girls get tortured for 2 hours. That's not my idea of a good story. That crossed my line.
Good.
on the on the other hand, you know, it's hard for me to figure my son out. He's 14 now, but like all throughout like the last 5 years where we watch movies together, you know, uh, some things he'll consider to be like too scary, and other things he just seems to love. Like he loves the movie The Lost Boys. That doesn't scare him at all. He finds it funny and silly, and the grandfather's very funny in that movie. So it doesn't frighten him, but like he wouldn't want to watch like one of the Alien movies or something like that. That would be too scary for him.
I love the Aliens movie. Those are my favorite, all of them. So watching horror stories, watching things like that, that was not really what made you start writing. What made you like? What inspired you to
Well,
get into the writing? Because writing is I mean, some of us and a lot of people actually journal, and but journaling it is when you're kind of telling yourself certain things that you're happy or unhappy about, or but actually writing a book. I left my hand because it took me about 5 years to write my biography.
right.
It's a totally different monster. I mean, it could be pleasurable, it could be just pain. It was in my case, was a pain. Um, how was it for you?
Well, I was very inspired in school when I read like Edgar Allan Poe's short stories. Also, when I read Shirley Jackson's The Lottery, because I figured that you could create these whole worlds and have these incredible stories, and sometimes they're only like 6 or 7 pages long. So I started with short stories, and then I moved on to writing my first novel, dark fiction, and then spent most of my time writing like novellas or novels. And now with my new book, Tales of Monster Madness, I'm actually back to writing short stories again, like how I started out.
So 55 or 50 short story. Congratulations, by the way. I mean, wow, that is an accomplishment and good for you. I mean, that deserves a round of applause. But wow, did it. So now we are on the last one, which is Tales of Monster Madness. And you were saying that got you the inspiration from watching something, or it just came to you. I don't know. Give us a little bit, and obviously don't want to give the whole book away because we want to be able to get people intrigued and teased, so they go out and order it.
Exactly. Well, what happened with that was my editor, Al Surroys, who's also an author, he just posted on his Facebook page one day a list of all of these characters and stories and books or whatever that were in the public domain that you could actually write about. And I never put it together that I could write stories from Sherlock Holmes and all this other stuff. And I ended up writing a short story about Dracula fighting the Wizard of Oz called The Great and Terrible. Because I thought, well, that's never happened before, as far as I know, Dracula fighting the Wizard of Oz. I had to make it a much darker version of the Wizard of Oz, or it wouldn't have really made any sense. You'd either have to, make the Wizard of Oz darker or lighten up Dracula, and I didn't want to lighten up Dracula too much. And that became my first short story in Tales of Monster Madness, and then I just started just kind of going crazy, like writing a sequel to Moby Dick where Captain Ahab survives the whale and what his life is like, after that, and a sequel to the short story The Lady or the Tiger, and a sequel to Nathaniel Hawthorne's The Scarlet Letter, and sort of like a modern update of the character Dupin from the Edgar Allan Poe stories, and what would happen if the same artist that painted Dorian Gray painted Dr. Jekyll, just putting all these things together. A darker version of Rip Van Winkle, where he wakes up 20 years later and he's hunted by something. So it was just trying to come up with some original ideas. I even did like a sequel to A Christmas Carol, where Scrooge is now a good guy and he travels to the United States to try to help another miser who doesn't help poor people mend his ways and become more compassionate, even though it's set as a horror story, because there's horrible evil ghosts that are haunting this new miser in the United States, and Scrooge is like, well, if you just change your ways and give to the poor and become a good person, these ghosts will leave you alone. That they left me alone after one night when I became a good guy. Things like that. Using your imagination.
So there's a bit of humor too in your writing as well.
Sure.
Of course, that is so cool. That is so cool. We are listening, everyone, right now. This is a recorded show. Dave Kempf, he is the author of his very, very latest book, everyone. Is called Tales of Monster Men. He is definitely horror fiction writer, and he's written over 50 books, short stories rather, and many themes. So if you are interested, he is going to tell us. Remember the theme. Tell us who you are, what you do, contact info, anything new. So we are talking about the latest. We are going to find out where can people find he is. His book, and yeah, very, very excited to be able to have him with us. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. I hope you are enjoying your time with us here. This is Lizzie, your host from the LizyT Show. We have with us David, who is talking about his latest book. If you are interested in this genre, please do not hesitate to reach us and or to reach him personally, or the website where you can find all those exciting books. So yeah, for people that are listening to us, David, and they want to get their hands on your very last book, Tales of Monster Madness, where can they get it?
You can get it on Amazon, of course, where we get most everything today. So Tales of Monster Madness, you can buy it in paperback. It's also an audiobook and also a Kindle book. And two of the short stories there, The Great and Terrible, the one about the Wizard of Oz that I mentioned, and the one about the Dorian Gray painter painting Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. That's called The Picture of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Both those short stories are absolutely free on Amazon. You can download them for nothing on your Kindle. And if you like them, hopefully, you'll go and you'll purchase the entire book, either paperback or Kindle. And I think that the audio book is pretty good too for people that like to have their stories told to them by a good narrator.
I know a lot of people are actually doing lately a lot more audiobooks than it used to be. Used to be a novelty, but I noticed that everyone has upped out to audiobooks lately. So that's awesome that you have this version in audio. And so a lot of people like myself love to go for a walk and obviously listen to a book. This is the thing to do now. People are killing 3 to 4 birds at once, reading their favorite book, listening to their favorite book, and getting some knowledge. Wanted to ask you, why did you choose the classic character for your stories? How did you pick them? Though it it was something that you were talking about how you use characters from the past, but give us a little bit of background.
Well, I mean, some of them are stuff that I was sort of assigned in high school and college, and others are just like kind of like personal favorites of mine. Like I love Washington Irving stories, and I really wanted to give some special attention to Rip Van Winkle because the Legend of Sleepy Hollow gets all the attention from him, obviously with the Headless Horseman. But I wanted to really write something new with Rip Van Winkle in it, and I had a wonderful English teacher, and she taught The Scarlet Letter when I was in high school, and I was always intrigued by that story. And they never say exactly what happens to um, the lady that gets the Scarlet Letter from the Puritans, Hester, her daughter Pearl. You never really know what happens to her. So I actually put Pearl through a pretty horrific experience in my story, but it was she ends up on an island of people that seem very nice on the surface, and they have like a culty, like religious vibe to them, and they're hiding like a terrible secret. And it's a bit of a stretch, but it was a lot of fun. Basically, I wanted to pay homage to some of the characters, like the Invisible Man
Hmm.
and Dr. Jekyll and things like that inspired me to become a writer. And I have a lot of writer friends who were beta readers, and they did the introductions to the stories, and I wanted to make the right selection, but I wanted to get critical feedback as well. That there's two stories that I wrote, one about the Frankenstein monster and one about the creature from the Black Lagoon, and they didn't make the cut. I really wanted them in there, but I just couldn't make the stories work. And my friends are brutally honest. They're like, we really love these other stories, but these other two, they just ain't cutting it. So
One thing that you mentioned, Dave, that actually caught my attention is when you mentioned that teachers were good influence. They inspire you. They give you ideas. I think it's very, very important to have someone who can pass along or nurture that gift. And obviously, you have good examples. You have people that are surrounding your background, um, your support group, or writers themselves and teachers. How important it is now that you have a 16, 14, sorry, I think you said 14-year-old son. Um,
14-year-old son, correct.
yes, how important that is for our future generation. Noting that a lot of the 16, 15 year generation, they're becoming more and more interested in technology. I'm talking about cell phones and tablets, and less in the real stuff, the paper. How are you able to manage and pass along this legacy that you have created in order for them to continue, because your son did help you with the book. I'd love to hear your point on that, because it is important for us to pass that legacy. Myself as a writer.
Well, I used to read to my son. That's the first thing. I used to read to him the Wizard of Oz. I read to him that at such a young age that he couldn't even say "we just called it Wizard Oz all the time.
Yes.
I read to him A Christmas Carol every Christmas, which he used to love. And he's got quite the interest in the arts himself. He was just the assistant stage manager of his high school play for Shakespeare's The Tempest. And
Wow,
before
congrats.
that, he was the lead male character of his age range for The Diary of Anne Frank. He played
Wow.
Peter, Anne Frank's boyfriend. And, it was a very solemn, sad story, obviously, The Diary of Anne Frank. And I know I'm biased because I'm, his dad, but I was blown away by him, and probably even more so by the young girl that played Anne Frank. She was as good as any actress I've ever seen. I mean, on the stage, and I've seen a lot of plays. She was absolutely fantastic. And my 4 murder mystery plays that we kind of briefly discussed earlier that do have to do with addiction. And I'm just to let you know, I'm in recovery. I'm a recovering alcoholic, and I haven't had a drink in 8.5 years. So the
Oh my
recovery stuff.
goodness. Oh wow. Congratulations. That deserves another room. And I appreciate you sharing this with us and with the audience. This is such an incredible step. I think keep up. I mean, I don't know what else to say. This is I feel honored that you're able to share such a vulnerability part of your life with us. So thank you and congratulations.
Oh, that's very kind to you. Thanks. So the not just the Wisdom Tree, which is a children's book about addiction that I wrote with my son Andrew. I'm getting voices together for 4 murder mystery plays with my friend Wesley Critchfield, and I can't divulge these other actors that I'm trying to get into these 4 murder mystery plays, because they might change their mind at the last minute and not be in it. So I don't want to drop their names, but I'm getting some people that meant a lot to me to try to get them to do voices in these the audio drama versions of my murder mystery plays. And my son actually plays the detective's nephew, and so he's very excited to be able to sort of be his dad's artistic collaborator on something, even if it's only a bit part. And I also think audio dramas and audio murder mysteries, I think, like short stories, I think they're going to make a comeback. And I think the technology today really helps. If somebody wants to read, they want to listen to audiobooks and do something sort of positive and educational or cultured like that, the technology is actually there to really help you along if you want. I mean, it can be, the technology can be harmful too, by
Absolutely. It's
playing
true. You could
video
use it.
games and watching TikTok all day or something. But
It's
it
true.
can also be positive. I'm sorry. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it could be used for good, and it definitely can be used for evil. And obviously you are passing on the legacy. In fact, that your son, it is part of your support group, your dream, and it's incredible. So congratulations. And if your son is listening, congratulations to you to be able to be part of this incredible team of your father. So that's incredible. um, you talked about what you intend to do in the near future, and that's really the segue to my last question of the LizyT Show. Tell me who you are, what you do, contact info, anything new. So, is that what you're planning for the following? I don't know, next 2-3 months next year you're working on this play audio.
Yeah, I've actually 2 of them are done. There's 4 murder mystery plays. 2 are done. The next 2 are going to be more complicated, and we're going to be working on them. And I'm working on a new short story collection, a collection of ghost stories. So I've been working on that, and I do want to go back real quick to what you were saying about teachers. Teachers really are great. They can
Hmm.
really help you, and the good teachers can really inspire you. And I would actually argue, not to be cynical, but I would argue in some ways a bad teacher is actually a better lesson than a good teacher sometimes, because you can tell the teachers that aren't really, they're just there for a paycheck, and they don't really, they're not passionate about their subject.
It's
And
true.
you can learn a lot about how you don't want to go into certain fields, um, if you see somebody who's just there to collect a paycheck and they're miserable, as opposed to somebody that like inspires students to be their best. So I think
Absolutely.
there's lessons to be learned from good teachers and bad teachers, actually.
It's true. The bad teachers sometimes they will push you to do better just because they you know that there is no response or no feedback from that person that you just said it wants to get a paycheck. And then we see that in any profession, whether are teachers or doctors or dentists or psychologists. I mean, they're from the heart, and some of them are from the heart. They're doing it whether they get a paycheck or not, and some of them are just doing it for the money. So, you know, one of the things that we have to do as a person, find out those that want to do it from the heart. And obviously, your writing, it is from the heart. You love this, you breathe this. 50 short stories, incredible. You keep working with audio, and yeah, I don't think you're ever going to stop, which is this is your thing, that you live for this. um, how do you arrange time? Being a father, having a teenager, I assume you do other things on the side, or my this is your side. Like, what is? How do
Oh,
you?
absolutely. The first thing I do on the side is actually other writing, which is I ghost write. I will write somebody's um, novel or life story or whatever, and obviously I get paid, but they get the credit for it. So ghost writing has been very lucrative for me. But I also actually work in a rehab, believe it or not. I work in a rehab where I was once a patient,
Wow. So
and
that's
it's
that's a story to write. I mean, not hinting or not saying anything. It's just putting it out there.
well,
uh,
one of
leaving
my
living horror and writing your own biography and talking about what it's like to be somebody on the other shoe, helping people to become healthier, to live addictions. Wow, that's I can see a book right there right now.
well, one of the plays is set in a rehab.
Yes, you mentioned that. Yes, you mentioned that. Yeah, you throwing it in there, not too visible, but yeah, I can see that. You're right. You're right. David, it's been an incredible time talking to you. You sound such a fun person. Your stories are incredible. Your life is incredible. It's the fact that you've gone through mega tribulations in your life with addiction, and now you're here to be able to share another side of you, another chapter in your life, not only literally a chapter writing, uh, no pun intended, but also sharing with the world what how you can become a person that really breathes and have the writing part of your life. So congratulations. This has been incredible. One of the things that I always like to ask to all of my guests, and I'm so sorry, David, you're not going to be the exception. For people that are listening to us, and through we have about 68 countries that follow us. Our shows are not only in Europe and the United States, here in Canada, but a lot of English speaking countries, and even non-speaking countries. But there are willing, or they have that inspiration, they have that desire in their heart to become a David in the world, somebody like you, have those dreams of writing put in their stories, whether it is horrors or different genre, and they feel probably listening to you overwhelmed or even intimidated. Wow, 50 short story, I can't even come up with that. What kind of word of advice would you give to somebody that is on the fence, perhaps? What it does, what stopped you and then you overcame to start this part of your life of as a writer?
Well, nobody has to tell you like how long or short something you write is. I just started off by writing a short story that was 1 page long. And then after 1 page, I started writing stuff that was like 5, 6, 7 pages. And before I knew it, I just started writing entire chapters for my first novel. And you just, if somebody really wants to be a writer, you need to read a lot. You have to read at least for like 2 hours a day, and you need to write every day. If you read every day and write every day, if you have that real desire, that burning desire inside, it will, sort of grow and foster itself eventually. You just need to read and write, and I think it will come. And of course, you can join a writers group. Try to find a moderately tough writers group in the beginning. You don't want a writers group that critiques all your stories into oblivion when you first start out. So I guess my first advice would be that you have to remember that it starts with one word, and then one word leads to one paragraph leads to 1 page, and you just kind of take it from there. And maybe even just set yourself a goal. Like, even if you don't feel it's particularly good or useful, sit down and make yourself write 2 pages a day. Don't let anything else come between you and those 2 pages. So,
Wow. Wow, I love it. I've been asking this question, especially to writers and singer-songwriters as well, musicians, and I've get very similar answer. But one of the things that is never heard it before, believe it or not, and I'm not lying, which is makes unbelievably sense. I mean, hello, I should have. But I'm going to start with reiterating really. Start with one word. I love it. I mean, absolutely. Absolutely. It started with one. You started with one page, and here you are writing a lot. That makes complete sense. I should have thought of I'm glad that you're saying it, but absolutely. And the other part that stopped me, I'm like, yeah, this is, I've never heard that one before. It's read a lot. Like, how can you expect to write without having background knowledge? But we have different genre, different books, to see different styles that you might have similar to or completely opposite to. So yeah, you could write until you blue in the fit, but if you don't have an idea what who to pick or who to simulate or copy or become like, obviously you have to have your style. That is read a lot. That I love that. I've never heard it before. Yes, right. We talked about that. Burning desire. What are you passionate about? Is it writing horror stories like David, or writing passion, or what, writing love stories? Just write what you love. And what is your burning desire? Love that. And joining a writing group, that is what that's, again, I never thought of that. I mean, it makes sense. It's so obvious. But yeah, a group that wouldn't criticize you, that will put you down, but that will lift you up. One of the reasons that I ended up taking myself, you probably heard about this group, Toastmasters, that helps you to public speak without having that critical analyzing of what you say. Just thinking about it, I have to think about my words, because it's like I'm in front of my audience and they're criticizing every ah and that I say. You probably heard of Toastmasters, right, David?
yeah, exactly.
Exactly. But and have
I count audiobooks too, by the way, Lizzie, just to let you know. Audiobooks count as reading, because the
it's
way it's
true.
absorbed in your mind, you still get the beat of the story and the pause. So it still improves your vocabulary, you know, even if you're just listening to the audiobook. Now, I don't think you should do no reading in all audiobooks, but me personally, I think you can count half your reading as audiobooks, honestly. I listen to Salem's Lot and Jaws and all these other terrific audio books. There's a ton of them on YouTube. Just put YouTube on while you're doing your chores around the house, and you can listen to tons of great audiobooks.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Dave, again, your book can be found on Amazon. Do you have a website or a link in social media that you can share with my audience?
I just have my Facebook books page and Amazon, but I have a huge bio on Amazon. I'm working on a website. I used to have one, and Masters of Horror UK. Just look that up. I've done a ton of interviews on there. I've worked with my friend John over there in merry old England there for the past 17 years. So there's lots of good stuff on his website.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, David. This has been an honor and pleasure having you with us, and continue doing great. And again, congratulations on your sobriety. And wow, keep going. It's been an honor to have you with us. And to everyone that is listening to us right now, thank you again. And we will be back with another guest soon. Thank you, and have a wonderful day. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, Lizzie. Thank you, Lizzie. It's been a
Okay.
pleasure.